Today we're going to build a computer. So, to kind of start off class, this is a foundational conversation we need to have. So even though our class is entitled Exercise Software, you got to understand the hardware to get to the software. And also, we're online a lot because of this pandemic. I mean, you guys are looking at me from home. I'm probably a new face to you compared to your little bubble of your families in your home. So that's just proof right there that we are very much relying on our hardware a lot these days. So I thought I'd do a little bit different thing this semester for this class to kind of maybe give it a little bit more pizzazz. So my computer's really old. It's 12 years old right now. What I'm using right now to record on this is 12 years old. Literally my CPU is screaming at me like, because I'm definitely overtaxing it these days with all of the online teaching we've been doing. So I kind of took it as an opportunity to rebuild a computer. So I bought all these parts myself, and I'm going to assemble them and kind of mention what parts are what and not get too heavy into computer science or all the technical stuff that's involved with them, but mostly just having an appreciation of what parts kind of do what, where they fit, and just an overview of kind of a build. So I'm literally going to build a computer and you guys are going to watch me. So to start off with, let's go ahead and just kind of walk through the parts so you guys can have a good understanding of what we got to work with. So kind of start with the kind of our centralized role with any kind of computer. This is a CPU. So a CPU is kind of the brain of a computer, and there's a couple different kinds. So and also full disclosure, you got your Macs, you got your PCs, and you could get your PCs and you could even branch out from there. This is an Intel processor. There's also AMDs that are very popular these days. They're a little bit cheaper. You got a lot more bang for your buck. But when it comes to kind of stability, in my opinion, and some of you are computer people and you'll argue with me about this, they're just stable, especially with a lot of the software I like to use and what we use in this class. They work hand in hand pretty well with you. So whatever you want, AMD, Intel, they're great processors. Macs, sadly to say, I am not a Mac person. My wife is. We yell at each other all the time about that. You don't have AirDrop on your phone. You're messing up the group conversation messages. Well, it's tough. I'm sorry. So this is over the board, a general conversation that will help you either understand Macs or PCs, but there are some minor differences. So this is kind of the core piece, literally the core i9. And with any computer pieces, the higher the number, usually the higher iteration, the more development pieces that kind of gone into it. Now this guy clicks into here, and this is the motherboard. And the motherboard is a kind of a general superhighway for your computers. It's what connects all the pieces together and gets them to talk to each other. And you want to have a very fast communication. So a lot of this computing is information out and information in. So you have your storages, which would be your memory, which I have a couple different kinds right here. I have a solid state hard drive, a 2 terabit, so quite big guy. And then I have a newer iteration of a solid state, which is called an M.2. This is super duper small. This is a little bit bigger. And then you have more of your mechanical hard drives, rewritable hard drives. And they actually kind of make noise, they spin up. And I got a couple of those too, but for this general build, I'm not going to need one. Also, I have pretty much a backup server with computer stuff on there too. And then you have cloud storage as well, which is online. So what's nice about computers is that they keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and more compact. To cool this all down, because there's a lot of heat that's usually produced with computers, I have this guy. So this is a hybrid, considered a hybrid liquid cool. So most computers usually will shoot air through them. I use a combination of air and the self-contained kind of radiator system like it's in your car. And then to power this all is this guy right here. And this is my power supply, and I have 850 watts. And you want to make sure, especially with computers, you match your need and a little bit more just to accommodate your power usage. And then the last two things I'll talk about is this. So I have RAM. This is random access memory. This is kind of the short-term memory in a computer, where this stuff is more of the long storage stuff. I would recommend, especially, I won't talk about it because I won't bore you guys too much, but Googling like storage on computer devices, just a quick search, and kind of seeing the differences, because it's kind of unique, because you guys will, many people think, you guys included, you save information in your computer and it's there forever. But data and information actually can degrade over time. So it is kind of important that you have many backups. So that's why I kind of have two storage devices for my long term. I have one that's going to be dedicated just to my operating system, and then I have another one that I'm going to use for file and video writing and saving and uploading and documents and doing research and things like that. So that's why I have two long-term storage devices. The RAM is what grabs it, stores it shortly, and then sends it off to the CPU. So that's why they call it like random access memory, where this is, because and also when it grabs the data, it kind of does it all over the place. It's not like this sequential kind of thing. And then this is actually not what I'm putting in this computer. This is a graphics card. This is actually an old one I have laying around, which I'm going to swap out in the computer I'm using to record this. This is a EVGA GeForce GTX 6060. And again, with the numbers, the higher the number, the better they are. I bought this back in 2009. That's how old this computer I'm using right now. So it's very tired, it's worn out. This is more up to date. I had to swap this out in the springtime because it wasn't doing the job real well with video editing, and I put a 1060 GTX in there. Right now, it's really hard to find video cards. So I'm going to Frankenstein my old computer and pull a part out of it, the 1060, and throw this one back in that. So I have two computers just to have a backup, mostly for, remember how I said the server stuff, so for saving more stuff. So I have, I think, close to 20 terabytes of storage all put together with all my hard drives and stuff in the other computer. So I'm really going to just use two computers, but this is going to be used for all the kind of the heavy lifting with the different softwares I like to use. So the last thing I'll point out, and this is an optional thing, and really I did not know about these until I started teaching online, and this is called a video capture card. It's a lot like the graphics card in the fact that it deals with the video, but what it does is it's able to pull in some very high quality video information. So I'm actually, the camera I'm using is a Sony 6600 camera, like a professional grade, not a webcam, but a click cam. And then I'm actually, for this picture, I'm using my cell phone, and I'm actually doing it wirelessly. And I mention that because one of the projects I have you guys do, we're going to turn your cell phone camera into a web camera. And I say that because here's the thing. We have a lot of cloud storage, and I know I'm getting off track. I'm just trying to give you guys some things to look forward to. And you've probably done this. You take a class, they say, hey, go do some push-ups, do some activity class things, and you need to submit it to your professor, and you record it, and then you upload it, and then you try to get the file onto Blackboard. It's a giant pain in the butt. It would be so much easier just to save it directly to your computer. This is a shortcut. This is taking all the middle pieces out of it and directly putting that MP4 video file onto your computer, so you can easily deal with it a little bit easier, a little bit better. So just, time back in, that's what I'm using kind of camera-wise to do this stuff. So to get this high definition picture that we got right here, I'm going to need to use something like this. So this is a 4K 60 frames per second, can support that. So very high resolution. If you ever watched your TV or bought a new TV recently and it's all about that 4K, now we have 8K. That's why I'm using this, so I can get a little better quality compared to this guy. But with all said and done, the fact that this is a camera cell phone camera, it still gives me a pretty darn good picture. Most of the time, your cameras in your cell phone are actually better and cheaper than the webcams we're getting these days. So just a little fun tidbit of information to throw in there. So I'm going to shut up now and just roll and start throwing these guys together. So here is the motherboard, and it can kind of look a little bit scary. But I'm going to point out, your CPU goes here, your RAM goes here, your graphics card goes here, my video card to go here, and then the storage, the solid state drive goes somewhere else in the case, but that M.2 storage actually goes right here. And actually I have 3 different slots that we can throw it. Outside are all your connections to power this. If you really think about this, it's not that complicated, but people kind of get overwhelmed, especially if this is the first time you've ever seen the inside of a computer. So something to consider when you're handling motherboards is they're very sensitive. So make sure you wash your hands, keep them nice and clean. If you're going to support this, don't do it by the middle pieces, do it by the outside pieces. And also, if you ever are going to build your own computer, which I recommend, for all the components that I have here, it's a lot cheaper compared to just buying a pre-built unit. I like to take the box and flip it upside down and then put this on the box to help support it. So as you can see, all these different connections right there. You want to make sure you're not touching any of that stuff. If you see where my hands are, they're kind of supporting the sides. I'm going to take it down and like so. Pretty cool. So that is your CPU. And they're very sensitive. And we are actually going to install it right here. But something to point out, it might be hard to see on the camera. Let's see if I can get in there. There's like this little gold arrow right there. That little gold arrow is actually going to match up with this other arrow. So we're going to pop this socket, and it has this little retaining clip, and you kind of pull it out like so, and you let it up, and then you can flip up this little case. Now this is where things get a little hairy when it comes to this. You can see all these different connections right here. It's kind of hard to see with my cell phone camera. All those different little dots and connections. Those are like little prongs that are standing up, and you want to make sure not to bend any of those. You can ruin your motherboard when you do that. But we're literally going to not forcefully do this, but we're going to take this GPU and we're going to set it, GPU, we're going to set it into this socket. Now this is a 1200 socket. Depending on the kind of processor you have, you'll have different socket types. The old school ones were like 1150 sockets. This is a newer one, 1200. And especially with Intel, they do weird things and like to change them here and there. AMD, same thing. So we're going to be very careful. Take this off. You can see it's sealed in plastic, and you can see all those little diode things right there that are kind of little contact spots we don't want to touch. You grab it by the sides, like so. Do not touch that at all. You can kind of see all the little things in the middle and all the contact points on the outside. You literally just drop it in place. And you can kind of wiggle it around. Just make sure you do have some contact. You can see my little contact there, my little contact there, my little arrow with my little dot. And then I gently take this down and I click this in. You can see kind of a little retaining spot. And it will actually pop this up when it does that. And it will release it. And you're in. And that's how you know you're in. Ta-da! One thing to point out, especially if you mess this up and you're like, I'm going to return it, is you can see these little prongs right here. It actually leaves little indentations on your processor. So they even do little things like that to make sure, that it wasn't a mistake that you did. Even though I know about this stuff, I still use the directions. Always look at the directions. So this is DDR4 RAM. And I'm not going to lie, this is all RGB stuff, and some of you probably know what that is, and you're going to be laughing. But let's put it this way, this thing's going to light up like Las Vegas. Do I want it to do that? No, but I have a little 3-year-old, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if I had a computer that would have create a whole bunch of light shows. Like I said, when you're in quarantine, you got to come up with some inventful ways to entertain your kids. So there's the RAM right now. So this is Vengeance Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro RAM. And one important thing to mention with the RAM is you want to make sure the numbers match up with the RAM. You can't have you want to make sure these were both made at the same time. So if this batch is different than this batch, they actually can run. I actually have 4 slots. This is 32 gigs of RAM. That's quite a bit. You really don't need that much. Anywhere between 16 gigs is kind of standard in most laptops, kind of your entry-level computers. 32 gig is what I picked for kind of doing all the computing stuff. Like right now, I'm monitoring what I'm doing on this computer, and I'm running about 6.4 gigs of RAM to do this video. So 64 will be plenty, but I also have some expansion slots where I could have ran 120 something. Why would I do that? If I was a big researcher and doing megadata or big data, that's when I would probably do stuff like that. So now when you put it in, you're not going to put it in 1 and 2. It's actually going to be slot 2 and slot 4. Another reason why I like the box, because you can support it from the bottom. Let me slide it in. There it goes. Ta-da. You hear it audibly click. Same thing with this one. Making sure your RAM is pointing the right way. Got my little thing out of the way. I am talking more for myself than you guys right now. I still get nervous doing this stuff. There we go. RAM is in. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy. Because now I got to pull this off to get to that. As I'm pulling off, they're actually metal, and the reason they're metal, they're aluminum, and aluminum has great heat properties. So this exposes my storage for my M.2. Which is this guy right here, and it's just looks like a little memory stick. It's pretty neat, this M.2 stuff. That's cool. It's got a little rubber thing right there now. And then these things are actually, I think you can move those. And they're different sizes. So this is I think it's a 2080 size, and really what it means is the size of this memory. So I can put a 2010 here, and then a 2080, and then another 2080 there. But I just need the one. That's it. That's all your memory is. And this is 500 gigabytes of memory right there. Which you guys are like, oh, that's not bad. Man, the first computer I ever had as a kid, had 4 gigabytes of memory. That was it. And dinosaurs ruled the earth. So this is the first time I've ever installed M.2 storage. That's how new it is. Actually, full disclosure, this is only the second computer I've ever built. But I got 12 years out of the last one, and I had to take it apart, put it together a few times. And you can see a little slot right there, a little slot right there. I'll move this over just a hair so you can see it. So there's 1 slot, 2 slot, 3 slot, and I'm going to slide it in right there. When you slide it in, it's actually going to be kind of poking up a little bit. Goes kind of springboardy. That's correct. Don't be alarmed. And then it slides down into this guy. Let's get a smaller screwdriver. Smaller screwdrivers. And wish I had some magnetic ones. That's better. Now we're going to gently press this down. Clicks into place, and then I have huge fingers, which makes this a little hard to do. Hey, did it first try. Oh no. Magnets. I'm nervous. There we go. There's the one I'm looking for. this work. Let's use a flat one. There. Oop. Don't over tighten them. Save these ones for later. So we officially have our M.2 SSD installed. Now we just do the same thing. We put it all back. One thing to point out is on the back of this guy, there is this tape. This is just for heat sink purposes. So, kind of looks like a radiator in your car, right? And that's pretty much how it works. It's a heat exchange. So this guy mounts right onto the CPU, and then again, through conductive kind of touching heat transfers, there's a pump in here, and this is a self-contained unit, so I don't have to fill this already. It's already got fluid in it. And actually I can kind of feel the braided lines, and you can tell it's kind of like antifreeze kind of liquid, and it's just cool already. And it pumps it, goes through this dissipation kind of radiance. So there's all these little tubes that are running back and forth, and all these little baffles, a lot of contact air, surface air area contact, and it will exchange that heat. So as it's going through here, it gets cooler and cooler and cooler and cooler. Then it's as cool as it needs to be, 60 degrees, and comes back into here to the CPU. And it just kind of keeps on going. And that's how this guy works. So, again, just like the M.2, this is the first time I've ever installed a hybrid kind of cooling system. In my day, we just stuck fans over the actual CPU to cool it down. And what's nice about this is there's fans that directly mount to this cooler. And I'm not going to lie, this is actually a quite big cooler, probably overkill for what I will be doing with it, but it was on sale. So right now we're going to lay that like so. And we're actually to the point where we're going to start having to put this into the actual case itself. The only thing I need to do now is I need to check that I don't need to put these connection things on the back side of the motherboard as we set it into the case. And then the other thing I need to do is attach the fans. So the radiator will mount above like so. So I want my wires to go to that side, which I already have them kind of pre-designated before. So this will over here. get to start putting it into the chassis. So first thing you need to do is pull the doors off this guy. Like out like so. This is a Corsair 500D case. I call it an adult case because it just seems a little bit more professional. Screws. Come off. And like so. So now, kind of have the case opened up, and what's nice about it is like this, is now I can put it on the side. So most of the components I bought for this computer are Corsair. The case is Corsair, the power supply is Corsair, my RAM is Corsair, one other thing is Corsair. Oh, and the radiator itself, the AOE is Corsair as well. And I did that because that way they kind of from the factory work well together. So you can see the fans are already installed for me. Same fans that came with this one. When you're setting up with fans, what you want to do is, because your motherboard's going to sit in here, and you want the air to suck. You want this one to suck air into the case, and then I'm going to mount these ones actually on the top of the case, and that way it's sucking air in and pulling the hot air out. And what's also nice is they kind of pre-run all the cable for you in there. So this case is a full case. It's called an ATI case. Or ATM, I can't remember at this point. And they make different size cases, so this is just a normal size case. And the reason I mention that is there's these little pre-installed nuts, and you want to make sure they are, ATM, AT things in the world, AT&T, no, it's ATX, I'm sorry. So you can kind of see there's a mark right here that says this is an ATX case. This also could fit a micro ATX. So the motherboard itself is an ATX motherboard. So it will actually fit inside here, no problem, from the factory. So I'm going to undo these cables.
Sure. Mom, Mario. Mom,
hard to see, but thermal paste. So we're all done. I went ahead and jumped ahead a little bit. I didn't think you guys wanted to see me do all the wiring and the wire management. It's a little bit boring and dry. So I kind of jumped to the end and kind of gave you guys that kind of like crisp, finished, polished look. But just to kind of track back kind of the original purpose of this video, it wasn't to so much show off me and my ability to build a computer, but to give you guys some perspective and look of underneath the hood of a computer and what really powers it. And understanding that there are some key components that help drive software. Case in point, I used multiple different software programs just to put this video together. And we'll take a glance at some of them. And it's a interesting concept to understand kind of the input and the output of information and how we can manage it. So stay tuned.